Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Hunter with Rebel Outdoors, everybody's favorite bald beard guy with the big brown truck. Today we're going to be talking about some of the things that Caitlin and I like and dislike about spending the last 2 weeks living in and out of the skinny guy campers out on our Wyoming BDR trip. So let's get into it.
Oh man, the lighting's wrong for full flex. So, when you have a truck like the Moose, sometimes you gotta clear some trails. So this little Milwaukee
Alright, so the context of this video, if you're not following like social media and all that other fun stuff, we spent the last couple of weeks traveling to Wyoming. We did a little bit in Colorado and some stuff in South Dakota and all that funness heading back to Michigan. So the trip was initially meant to do the Wyoming BDR, and we did most of it, but I'm not going to get too much into that. Next week's video should be the first part of that little series, but we've had the skinny guy camper on the truck for a few months now, and I've been taking it on some overnight trips, some couple day trips, just some weekend long stuff, nothing too crazy. But really over these last 2 weeks of living in the camper have really kind of narrowed down for us the things that we did like and the things that we did not like. So today I'm going to be getting into that. First, we'll start with the things that we do like. Now, this list was compiled by Caitlin and myself, so we pretty much agree on all these points. She was going to be in this video, but she is currently busy and has a really bad cough. So probably one of the nicest things about having the skinny guy camper in the bed of the truck is it is so easy to deploy. You can do it all from standing on the ground, where my last setup with the rooftop tent on top of my topper, it was easier for me just to get up 9 feet up on top of the tent to put it away or undo it or anything like that. So this is really, really easy to set up and take away, which of course when you're doing a trip like that where we were constantly moving all the time, it's a real time saver. So I want to say the bed in that 6.5 model that we have, because again, depending on the size vehicle you have and the model skinny guy you have, the bed size is going to change, but I think it's about a queen size, something like that. But we basically had myself, we had our daughter Ivory in the middle, and then Caitlin was on the adjacent side of me, and we all slept pretty well, had a decent amount of room. Now again, we did bring a nice good size one of those beds that prevented Ivory from rolling out of it, so that was taking up a decent amount of space. But the times where we have spent just the two of us in there, there is more than enough room for if like we wanted to bring a dog or two or something like that. Now, one of the things that this camper does have is a flushable toilet. So it's a Prima package on the kit and caboodle, and that features commonly known as a wife pleaser for obvious reasons. So the weather was kind of pretty decent for the most part, but there was a couple times where it did rain a decent bit, and not having to get out of the camper was not the worst thing, especially if like get up in the middle of the night, super cold or what have you. It's pretty nice having that there. Now, having running water is something that I feel like not many people think about, but when you're out and about and you don't have it, and then now all of a sudden you do have it, it's definitely very nice to have, and kind of something that we take for granted, just as far as something simple as like brushing your teeth in the morning or washing dishes, or having the tap on the back to fill up water or anything like that. So that is really nice. Also, the fact that it has a thermocombi heater in it, so it can do hot water for showers, or if you need some hot water for whatever reason, that's really nice too. So kind of going off that thermocombi heater, the fact that you can heat the tent up when it's super cold out, and it's not like where in my rooftop tent I'd put a buddy heater up there to kind of warm it up a little bit. And so another thing I think that a lot of us take for granted when we're in a rooftop tent, unless we have like an annex or something, but just being able to like get up in the morning or when you get up in the tent at night, and you can just stand up in there, whether it's to change or do whatever, stretch, just being able to stand up in the thing is pretty awesome. And then for my last of the positives, I mentioned how easy it is to take the camper on and off. Now, I kind of get into this in the negative, but it kind of takes up a lot of your bed space. So if for whatever reason you do need to use a lot of your bed space, let's say you got to move some stuff, go get some, dirt or what have you to do some yard work, you can take the camper off pretty easy and pretty quick. I think usually it's like 15-ish minutes. You can get it on and off pretty easy. Okay, now we're going to go into some of the things that we didn't like about having the Skinny Guy camper. Now, weirdly enough, they do make these Skinny Guy campers for mid-sizes, full sizes, and what I'll call XL, or the heavy-duty trucks. So those are like the three big sizes. You have the 5, the 5.5, and 6.5. So the 5.5 actually has more foot space, or floor room, whatever you want to call it, than the bigger 6.5. And that is just because of the layout of that camper. But that is one thing we did find, especially with having some of like our gear up there or stuff for Ivory. It was kind of a pain to be able to, maneuver around each other if one of us had to like get out of the tent or, busy grabbing different things, cooking, what have you. Like I said, the 5.5 actually does have a pretty decent amount of floor space in it. Now, one thing that is still pretty crazy to me is how compact that the Skinny Guy camper is and all the things that you can get in these campers. So with that being said, not only is while the camper is on your truck just about the size of a normal truck topper, even when it's deployed, the amount of things that you have within that small of an area is pretty sweet. So that is definitely one nice thing, to be able to have all these like camper amenities, is what I call them, in such a small package versus having one of those traditional in-bed campers that sticks way out and is super tall and just pretty cumbersome. So with the compactness of the Skinny Guy camper, obviously one of the downsides is you don't have a ton of storage. Now there is like a small pass-through window, which is pretty nice, as a door on the outside. You can get items in and out, and then you can do the same from the inside of the camper in that space. However, the space within the camper, again, just because of how much stuff is compacted into that small of an area, the storage is not the greatest. But with that being said, if you have kind of one of the more built up units like I do, you're not really going to need a whole lot of space because a lot of it's going to be in the camper. I was able to unload my entire kitchen bin into one single small cubby underneath the sink area of the Skinny Guy camper. But all things considering, as bougie as this camper is, it was not fun to not have any AC. So the fact that it does have heat is, pretty standard because a lot of campers do, especially with having a 20-pound propane tank on board. And I know that they are currently working to get some type of AC system in that. Again, with that being said, you could always get like a zero breeze or something to cool off the camper, so that way it's not like crazy hot. It's not too bad when you open up all the windows and everything, but if you're with your family in there, you're around a bunch of people, you might not want to have all the windows down completely. It's kind of going off that last point. The windows don't have any kind of, I guess, awning, we'll call it that, or like covering to where rain will go off, or you can open up the windows a little bit and still be kind of covered from whether it be sun, weather, visibility, what have you. But granted, with the space of everything, that would just add more items to an already pretty compact space, and it's usually not too bad. I've found you can like roll them down halfway and still maintain a decent amount of privacy within the camper, if you're changing or what have you, and still allowing some air to get in. Also depends like how you park it too. If you park it like one side of the camper is completely away from people, you can kind of get away with it then. Now I'm kind of a clean freak, which is weird because I enjoy doing all this off-roading, getting my truck all dinged up, scratched up, dirty, all that fun stuff. But having or not having any kind of efficient place to set your shoes, like a lot of rooftop tents have shoe bags, that works great to not track in all kinds of dirt and mud. And it pretty much rained almost every night while we were there, so a lot of the times if we were getting up in the middle of the night or in the morning or before bed, it would be pretty muddy. So a lot of that dirt did get brought into the camper. So yeah, you could leave your shoes outside, but you don't want any kind of critters crawling in there, or if it rains, you don't have any good way of keeping that keeping your shoes clean. So some kind of addition of like a shoe bag would be nice, even if it's just one little bag type device on like the handles that you use getting in and out of the camper. Now, one thing that I definitely noticed on this trip was how high the center of gravity of the truck becomes because of this camper. So the camper weighs a little over 1,000 pounds. Now, with having 38 gallons of water and the 20-pound propane tank, camper just completely loaded down, you know, who knows, it's probably pushing 1,400 pounds. You know, you got to think all that water in there really adds some tonnage. So, and the truck doesn't have airbags on it. So from the people that I do know that have had these longer than I have, the airbags really do make a difference. So had I had airbags on this trip, I don't think it would have been that bad, but the truck definitely, you can feel it rolling pretty intensely around corners and things like that, or just off-roading in general. So airbags is a fix for that. And probably my biggest complaint about this camper, but again, considering all the things that are inside of it, you only have like 12 inches of bed space up and down for clearance. Now, yeah, you do still maintain the whole depth of your bed, but if you've ever gotten inside a small space like that, having to crawl underneath the camper to grab something, it sucks. It's not fun, especially when the truck's that high off the ground. There's no easy way to do it. So that is my biggest complaint. Now, you can fit like a deck system under there, some kind of drawer systems, which would be a great storage solution. However, you need to keep in mind that if you're trying to store larger items, you may not be able to do that. So you're going to have to end up putting those items either in the cab of the vehicle or up on a roof rack, which, you know, again, depending on your vehicle setup, that might not be the worst thing. For us having Ivory on the trip, we really didn't want to keep a lot of stuff in the back seats of the truck. We wanted to kind of keep that as clean as possible and keep a lot of her stuff in there, you know, that we would need, like a diaper bag and what have you. And as far as putting stuff on the roof rack, the truck's already pretty high off the ground, and I know we were in the open area, so it really wasn't that big of a problem. But like around here in Michigan, a lot of the times I'm having to squeeze down trails enough as it is, so having more higher boxes on the top of the truck for this trip, I had 2 of the large size Milwaukee pack-out boxes. One was filled with tools, the other was curvy gear, and you know, that added a decent amount of height on the truck. So trying to keep that in mind. It also doesn't help your center of gravity any more than the camper already has kind of ruined that for you. Now, I don't want to let all these negative things that I've said about it sway you from thinking that we don't love this thing. This camper is unbelievable. It's awesome. We do love it. I don't think it's the right fit for us. However, if I had, like, let's say a Bone Customs bed or something like that, where I had a lot of additional storage outside the bed of the truck, I think it would be a great fit. And it was really a crucial piece to me being able to bring my family out on this trip, especially with my daughter being so young. You know, it's a lot different when it's just me going on a trip and I can rough it and it doesn't really matter, versus when you're bringing your family, especially a young kid like that, you need to make sure that you're well equipped and have all of the proper things, so that way they can be taken care of, especially when you're that far off the grid. Well, that'll kind of wrap this little video up, guys. Let me know what you think down below, if you've seen these at shows, or if you know people that have them, things that you've seen you like about them, things you don't like about them. If any of my comments are bad or whatever, you know, just let me know down in the comments. I like chatting with you guys about it. Like, share, subscribe, and as always, we'll catch you guys in the next one.